Welcome to the Virtual Strategic Solutions Virtual Reality Simulation System. Accessing Legacy Dataset. Files loaded. Simulation ready. In the distant past, the NCR Correctional Facility was the Gene Conservancy, a low-security, all-female prison. When the NCR occupied the Mojave, it was commandeered as an all-male prison, in contrast to its pre-war purpose, to house prisoners on a work-release program. The inmates were tasked with maintaining a railroad alongside the Long 15 under military supervision, keeping the vital link between the Boneyard and New Vegas alive. However, as the war with the Legion escalated, more and more prison guards were redeployed to the Colorado River against the warden's objections. This provided an opportunity that the inmates seized to stage a prison break. Under the leadership of Samuel Cook, a small group of inmates gathered weapons and explosives before rebelling against the NCR staffing the facility. Blasting their way out of the cell block, they quickly overwhelmed what little NCR personnel were present at the site, killed the warden, and established their own rule. The prisoner population dispersed, with some following Cook into Vault 19, others staying with Eddie as powder gangers, and some heading out to cause mayhem along the Interstate 15. The revolt shut down Highway 93 and the NCR's main road to Vegas. The situation worsened when the powder gangers stole Sloan's dynamite supply, shutting down Quarry Junction and inadvertently unleashing death claws on the quarry and the highway. Eventually, the gangers established a sizable presence outside the prison with a ring of camps around it, focused on raiding caravans that tried to push through to Vegas and launch attacks to terrorize the local towns of Goodsprings, Sloan, and Prim. There are several groups of loosely organized powder gangers that organized quickly after the prison break. Many remain in the prison and have been raiding surrounding areas under the leadership of Eddie. There are factions of powder gangers spread far along the southwestern part of the Mojave Wasteland, all the way down towards Nipton. The smaller groups of powder gangers are all led by a strong or cunning underboss, like Joe Cobb. A large contingent of powder gangers can be found in Vault 19, under the leadership of Samuel Cook, although there they are identified as escaped convicts. Due to their hostility, the powder gangers have little to no friendly relations with outside groups. They are hated by both the NCR, whom they were former prisoners of, and Caesar's Legion due to their harassment of Legion raiding parties. The Brotherhood of Steel dislike them due to interfering with patrols near and in Hidden Valley. The group engaged in commerce with establishments in Nipton. However, even in Nipton before the massacre, the group visited opposite the NCR, the troopers at night, and gang members during the day to avoid conflict. The Vault 19 group planned to join the Great Khans at the behest of their leader, Samuel Cook, indicating some level of respect is held for the Khans. The favored and most common weapons among the powder gangers are explosives, primarily the powder charges and dynamite which they acquired during their time in prison and escape. However, they also have a large arsenal of guns, some stolen, others looted from dead NCRCF guards. They carry single shotguns, 9mm pistols, varmint rifles, and .357 Magnum revolvers. However, some members who have moved further away from the prison, such as those found at Whitaker Farmstead, are significantly better armed, sometimes equipped with laser or plasma rifles. Samuel Cook is a unique character among NCR convicts. His hatred of the Republic is motivated by politics, as he sees the NCR as a corrupt, imperialist, tyrannical beast that forces its system on every man, woman, and child in the wasteland. His revolutionary zeal led him to wage a campaign of sabotage in New California, blowing up Republican caravans along Interstate 15. He was only one man, on his own, and was eventually captured. Cook's sentence landed him in the NCR Correctional Facility in the Mojave Wasteland. Incarceration did nothing to extinguish the fire in his heart. While he acted like a model prisoner, anti-NCR sentiments aside, he prepared for an uprising with a band of trusted inmates. Samuel hid makeshift weapons and secreted away small quantities of explosives used in railroad construction while working in the chain gangs that labored under the Mojave sun, clearing the way for NCR trains. Eventually, Cook saw an opportunity. When the Republic redeployed another group of prison guards away to the Colorado River, He and his men blasted their way out of the cell block, overwhelmed the guards, and earned their freedom. The rest of the prisoners joined in when they realized what happened. However, Cook left the prison together with a group of followers, allowing Eddie to form the Powder Gangers. Cook took his men to Vault 19, where he plans to take advantage of the local area's dangerous wildlife and the sulfur deposits beneath to arm himself with high explosives and kindle the fires of war against the Republic anew. However, Cook is dealing with insubordination from Philip Lem, a convict who helped with the prison break and tagged along when Cook left, but has begun to rethink his choice and now wants to leave with some others and surrender to the NCR. But Cook will not let them, causing confusion within the small group's ranks about who is actually in charge. Philip Lem made his living by sneaking into NCR camps and stealing goods and made a well enough living. One day, however, he got sloppy and got caught, avoided hanging, and sent to NCR Correctional Facility. Once there, Lem was one of the first inmates involved with Samuel Cook's prison break plan and took part by spreading the word to other useful inmates, and eventually participated in the NCRCF prison break, like the other inmates. Lem decided to follow Cook's lead on the way out of NCRCF and to Vault 19. But after all was said and done, Lem began to think that the group should turn themselves in back to the NCR, believing that the group can't sustain themselves on the limited resources they got, and Cook's overambitious agenda against the NCR will eventually just get them all killed. Currently, Lem is at odds with Cook, who wants everyone to stay while Lem and his group want to leave and surrender to the NCR, leaving the group confused on who's actually leading. Eddie is the leader of the Powder Gangers and can be found on the top floor of the administration office in the NCR Correctional Facility, having occupied the warden's office. Eddie, a former NCR prisoner, assumed control over the Powder Gangers after Samuel Cook, the original leader of the prisoner uprising, left north with a group of followers to Vault 19 in order to wage a personal war against the NCR. Since then, Eddie has led the former prisoners as they have raided caravans passing near the NCRCF, always making sure that every Powder Ganger gives him a cut of the spoils. If asked for work, Eddie will give the quest "I Fought the Law." Killing him will result in the failure of the quest unless progressed far enough to betray him to the NCR. A positive reputation with the Powder Gangers will grant dynamite and various gunpowders from him. He will give out a maximum of 5 dynamite and 20 each of rifle and pistol powder once an idolized status with the Powder Gangers is attained. Eddie is protected at all times by 3 Powder Ganger bodyguards, as well as his good buddy Scrambler, the toughest member of the Powder Gangers. What Scrambler has to say to the courier marks him as an extremely violent and psychotic individual who has a very nonchalant attitude towards his crimes, homicide and infanticide, which he describes as "not much" when asked what he did to be sent to the NCRCF. He is also one of Eddie's bodyguards, or as he puts it, he keeps an eye on him. On occasion, friendly Powder Gangers may warn the courier that Scrambler is acting up more than usual and advise to stay away from him. A former combat medic of the new California Republic Army, Hanan is the acting medical specialist of the Powder Gangers. Before he enlisted and started medical training, he tried his hand in being a farmhand, bouncer, a bandit, and a regular NCR trooper. However, Hanan ended up in prison after selling army medical supplies on the black market. He assumed that the quartermaster would not notice any missing medical supplies, but he soon realized that this assumption was wrong. After Samuel Cook's prison break at the NCRCF, Hanan was promoted to doctor, since he was the only one with any sort of medical training, though only 6 months of it. Given the gangers' situation, it is better than nothing. Hanan does not complain either, as he can weasel out of raids by pointing out that the gang cannot lose its only doctor. Carter was locked away at the NCR Correctional Facility after being framed over an undisclosed amount of caps by a pit boss while working in a casino in New Reno. During his time imprisoned, he was always known as the guy who could get things. This led to his career as a trader after the Powder Gangers took over the facility. Chavez formed a splinter gang with a small crew of fellow escaped convicts that have moved south of the NCR Correctional Facility to plunder passing-by traders and other Mojave inhabitants. Chavez and his crew decided that instead of turning in their acquisitions to Eddie, they would keep it all for themselves. Dors claims he was originally the leader of a gang in the hub back in New California. However, he was apprehended and sentenced to imprisonment in the correctional facility in the Mojave Wasteland for starting a riot. Dors will grant access to the NCR correctional facility to a character who has a sufficient reputation with the powder gangers in exchange for 100 caps. Alternatively, assisting Joe Cobb in Run Good Springs Run will earn free access to the facility. Boxcars was a criminal in Nipton who was planning to kidnap some NCR soldiers. Instead, they were ambushed by a group of Caesar's Legion soldiers led by Vulpes Inculta, who forced him and the other townspeople of Nipton to enter a lottery. The winner was let go while Boxcars got second place, and although allowed to keep his life, had his legs crippled by the legionaries. The rest of the gang members were either enslaved, crucified, or killed, along with Nipton's mayor Joseph B. Stein. A career criminal, Cobb has been running with some of the toughest gangs the wasteland has seen. However, nothing lasts forever, and ultimately he was incarcerated for robbery, arson, and murder. Placed in the NCRCF on a work release program, he took his freedom when Samuel Cook triggered the prison break. Salvaging armor from dead guards, he and his men started to haunt the stretch of Long 15 between Sloan and Prim. His recent string of successes was marred when a Crimson Caravan trader, going by the name of Ringo, decided that combat was the better part of valor and started shooting during a shakedown. Cobb and his fellow gangers took down the caravan, but Ringo managed to escape and hole up in Good Springs. The denizens of the town took him in and gave him shelter, infuriating Cobb. As of October 19, 2281, he is busy tearing the place up, trying to intimidate the townsfolk into giving him up. Though powder gangers almost all have evil karma, the larger powder ganger faction is not marked as evil. This means that stealing items owned by the powder gangers faction will incur negative karma. Ringo's caravan along Interstate 15 is looted with powder gangers hovering around the area. This Crimson Caravan Company outfit is located slightly northeast of Gene Sky Diving, has been ransacked, and the caravan guards left dead. One of the two powder gangers stationed there will always be hostile. Simulation completed. Please exit the pod, or have a technician select another file.